Hello, Scott here, and welcome to yet another completely unprofessional unboxing. And we're back with, well, another unboxing, clearly as it's labeled in the video and after what I just said. So this particular box right here, and we're just going to cut to the chase, has been something that has been long overdue. I've teased at it slightly a few times, asked a couple questions, what would you like to see next over what I have opinion to take a look at. And this one seems to be getting a bit of traction and has, but due to everyday life getting in the way and other things taking priority over the unboxing, so to speak, i.e., the Dragonlance thing, the kind of my knee-jerk reaction to the Kryn misspelling debacle, but and hopefully may continue on with that. We'll see. I don't know how many people are actually interested in me reading through that whole book and giving it the proper attention it's due, but hey, it's my channel. I do what I want, respect my authority and so on and so forth. Anyways, so this little puppy here arrived some time ago. I'll start out by saying it is a collector's item. The primary reason why I picked it up is not really because I'm a fan of the source material. That should give you a little hint as to what's inside of it. But I'm not a fan. I should say more so I am not a fanboy of it. I'm familiar with it and also familiar with enough to kind of, feel comfortable with taking a look at the game itself and having an understanding of it. But I don't know it thoroughly or thoroughly, I should say. My wife told me I should stop using a lot of ahs and uhs and so I may try to keep track of that as I speak. Anyways, so with that kind of prattly ramble introduction, let's take a look at it, and then I'll give more detailed information as to the reason behind the purchase of it and my interest in it. And I know it's a lot of people who have a lot more vested interest in it, but it could be something that would be interesting in the long term. Yeah, there you go, babe. I'll try to use less. Anyways. Trusty Coleman Camping steak knife here to open it. We are almost through the end of the year with no accidents, although there hasn't been as many unboxings as they were last year. But you never know. Today may be the day for you to see, me slicing open my thumb and blood all over the Priority mailbox. But let's see here. All right. Let's give it a little slice there. There we are. That should be enough to open these, although the glue on these Priority mailboxes are ridiculous. 9 times out of 10, I've got to take it off camera and kind of force it open. There we are. Yeah, no one wants to see this. They want to see what's inside. All right, just a moment. Sweet Jesus. There we go. All right, open and open. Slide that out. And just make sure there's no personal information involved. All right, so let's display what we have inside. Make sure it's kind of centered there. Good enough. So, dun dun dun. Larry Niven's Ringworld, the box set, and this is a relatively rare item. It is highly sought after. If I'm not mistaken, at the Chaosium Con last year, it was one of the high-end items on the auction. I mean, a lot better shape than this one is. I believe it was still sealed. I could be wrong. I know it was one of the few, but I mean, wow. People paid a lot more money for it than I did for this thing here. Like so many of the things that I do find on eBay when I take a look around, this one I was able to pick up for less than the collector's suggested price. This particular bad boy, as rare as it is, tends to go for a ridiculous amount of money. I don't recommend wasting your money on it or any collector's item for that matter when they get up to the stratosphere in pricing, but every once in a while something will pop up. And this particular one, a little bit of history on how I got it. Woke up one morning. Every once in a while I'll, after a cup of coffee and I've, checked out the news and other things, got my kids off to school, I'll pop on eBay and just take a look at what's newly listed. And this thing had just listed 30 seconds prior to me hopping on. And It was set up for Instabuy. I guess that's the proper term. I don't know it by heart. And it was a ridiculously low price. Grabbed it. I'm sure a lot of people saw it. And by the time I nabbed it and went, shit, I missed out. So, Larry Niven's Ringworld. As stated previously, I am not a Ringworld aficionado. I read the book. Well, let's say I perused the book back in the day. When I was younger, like so many people of my age, I was what you would consider a latchkey kid. So after school, a lot of my time was spent at the library until my parents were able to come and get me, until I got older and I was able to go home by myself. But I would spend hours in the library. And that's where I believe my love of reading came from. But with that, I would kind of scan books, so to speak. As far as, with the dyslexia thing that kind of, prevents me to maintain a certain amount of focus, I would scan so many different books, going through the science fiction section, pick something out, look at it, read through it over a few days, or scan over it a few days, put it back and move on to something else, retaining nothing from it other than maybe a few key characters and certain, certain aspects of the book outside of the title. Ringworld was one of those. That aside, though, I did recently start listening to the audiobook, and I'm enjoying it. And I can definitely see why it is such a favorite amongst the literary world and amongst the sci-fi aficionados. It is so far an enjoyable book. Wouldn't really put it up in my personal top 10. I have different tastes when it comes to it. But anyways, I digress. So Ringworld, though, one of the things that drew me to this, not just because of the notoriety of the name, is primarily just I am a big fan of weird sci-fi, weird fantasy, things like Tecumel, things like Jaroon, things where the tropes are almost non-existent, whether it be fantasy or sci-fi. And just looking at the cover of this book, this immediately brings me back to, the early sci-fi covers, of the 60s and 70s and 80s, the ones that I grew up with reading, which had this fantastic art in front of it. 9 times out of 10, primarily having nothing to do with what's inside the book, but still enough to draw your interest into it and go, what the fuck is this? Excuse me. And that's what the cover of this box, did to me back in the day and even now. What's going on here? If you haven't read the book, you have no clue, but it looks interesting as hell. You've got a floating city. You've got some sort of giant blue creature with either a fin or weird hair. You got something that looks like some sort of wildman falling behind and having these little beasties down here running through a field of grain or weeds or grass or whatever. I want to know what's going on here. I'm interested in playing within this. Fantastic. So that is part of why I picked up Ringworld, being unfamiliar with it. And also after, listening to the book and getting into the world, wondering how they turned that into a game, into something where the characters are existing within that world. I could see it for sure, but is it something that would be interesting enough to hold your players and likewise the GM's attention? That remains to be said, dependent upon my first impression and likewise taking some time to actually go through it in detail. But on top of that, it's a collector's item. Like so many out there, I am a collector of role-playing games. I do enjoy it. I like nothing more than finding something that ends up being either special or rare and ends up for a deal. It's just kind of the nature of certain collectors. But the one thing I also like to do is, before I even spend a red cent on it, is it something that I'm going to use? I'm not just looking for something to stick on the shelf and go, look at that, Larry Niven's Ringworld. What's it about? No clue. But this one kind of straddles that line. I think primarily I got it more because it was rare, because it was such a good deal, and my interest into the game came second, and that normally doesn't happen. So this one kind of may change that. We will see. So again, I digress. I'm prattling on again regarding the whole aspect of this bunch of stuff. You've lost interest already and moved on. Fair enough. But taking a look at the box, who do we have involved in the creation of this? We have narrative descriptions by John Hewitt, game design by Sherman Kahn, additional design and materials by Lynn Willis, Sandy Peterson, Charlie Crank, Ed Gore, Rudy Kraft. A lot of names of note here. And then artists. And if you haven't recognized the style already, Ralph McQuarrie, Lisa A. Free, Michael Bloom, Yurik Chodek. So let's take a look inside. And I think that's what we've all been waiting for. So opening it up. Now, one of the things they noted was it came with the original dice, and that it does. So we'll kind of take a little look at that first. So yes, here we are. We have, two small, what I would call Yahtzee 6-sided dice, relatively inexpensive and easy to get for your game. And then we have the old school dice. The numbers aren't filled in. We have two 20-sided and an 8-sided die. Now, this is a game by Chaosium. I have no idea if it uses the basic roleplay game system, but just looking at what comes with it, maybe not. Maybe it does. We'll see. So beautiful, beautiful dice, and these will go in a special place where they will be nice and safe. So what do we have inside? We have the Explorer book, a little bit of a fold there, but relatively good shape. Oh, excuse me. We have the Creatures book. We have the Technology book. We have the Game Masters book. And then the standard of what's in this box. It came with old school games. We have some standees, which is kind of neat. And we have reference sheets and Ringworld autopilot printout. And a wonderful little Chaosium postcard here with, "Hi, Chaosium, I just bought your game. Please send me your latest info and put me on your mailing list for future announcements of new game books." Fantastic. And help improve Chaosium games. Sure, what questions would they ask? Rate these subjects by your preference. Being your favorite and being your least favorite. Okay, 1 being your favorite, 7 being your least favorite. Historical fantasy, swords and sorcery, science fiction, exotic magic, 20th century reality, and other. Is this your first game? Yes, no. Your first Chaosium game? Yes, no. Your age, 1 through 13. Was that necessary, Chaosium? 1? Okay. Whatever. 41 and up. Wow. They really didn't have really, 41 was the cap and up. Okay. My education, 1 to 12 years old, 13 to 16 years, and 17 plus years. Okay. That's odd. Income, 0 to 20,000, 20 to 40,000, 40,000 plus. Wow. Where did you hear of this game? So on and so forth. Okay, so we'll kind of set this aside. I'm going to close the box here, and we'll take a look at the back when we're done. So set these things aside. Make sure I'm still recording. And we'll start with the Explorer book. Okay, so we have the Explorer sheet. Okay, so this does look like it's a percentile system. Interesting. Okay. So introduction. We'll just kind of read this slightly. The game draws directly from 6 books. Ringworld, Ringworld Engineers, The World of Patavs. Tavs? I'm not that far in the books to even know how to pronounce that. A Gift from Earth, Protector, and Neutron Star. Additional stories and novels by Larry Niven have been combed for background and specific detail. These known space tales chronicle the common history of a group of stars and planets which include our own, Sol and Earth, over a period from the present to about the mid-29th century. In that distant time occur the first 2 Ringworld expeditions from known space, as recorded in the Ringworld novels. The period covered by your game is flexible. The Game Master chooses the year in which it begins. We recommend that play be approximately contemporary with the 2 expeditions for which Louis Wu was shanghaied and be at least later than 2850 AD, the year of his first expedition. Role-playing requires that the mechanics and scenarios allow a wide range of actions by the player characters, skilled game masters cannot control, so on and so forth. Okay, so carrying on, explorers. Player characters visit Ringworld as explorers to uncover new concepts and technologies, to pursue the rumors haunting known space, to test long-held scientific and social theories, and to meet or study the inhabitants of the ring. With their insights, explorers can expect to unlock new knowledge for themselves in known space. So, okay, fair enough. I mean, the ring itself is gigantic. It's as far as the size of it, the the square miles or whatever, so to speak, of it, is many Earths. I'm not going to try and remember it. I think it was 30 or 300 or something like that. But anyway, so there's plenty of room for exploration within this world. The Explorer book includes detailed essays, so on and so forth. Okay, so in the beginning, at least, the explorers may be UN representatives, ambassadors, or expedition leaders while pursuing individual careers as anthropologists, artists, physicists, zealots, etc. Each explorer will have made the long journey from known space for personal and career motives, as well as to augment the knowledge of his species for all of known space. Okay. So, I mean, it sounds like it's going to primarily take place within, the Ringworld, and still going to have a lot of sci-fi tendencies to it, but you're primarily going to experiencing the world itself, I would imagine. But again, I could be wrong. The vastness of the ring, the richness of its variety, its trillion inhabitants, the diversity of its cultures and technologies, and the sophistication and power of the forces which guard the ring force every expedition to be explorational. Even the foulest brigands of the spaceways can hardly avoid being intrigued and impressed by the greatest structure ever made by intelligence. All right, so what do we have here? Moving on from that, playing the game. We have a description of role-playing here, which is fine. We don't need to get on that. Players, so on and so forth. Okay, so yeah, that's just pretty much just a explanation of role-playing in terms of Ringworld. Playing aids. The Ringworld box contains everything necessary for play. 5 dice, 2d20, 1d8, 2d6. Okay. Individual books detailing the game rules and background, and assorted handouts, paper, pencils, and so on. Dice. Included in the box are 2 20-sided dice, 1 8-sided dice, and 2 6-sided dice. Great. So they're all there. Dice rolls. Okay. A description of the dice rolls, and so on and so forth. Okay, here we go. Here's the 2d20s. D100, this roll requires both D20s. Ordinarily, the dice will be different colors. Choose which represents the 10s planes and which die represents the 1s planes. Once you've chosen, resist the temptation to shift the way. Okay, so these are in lieu of 10-sided dice. And are they... I would imagine they're just 1 through 10 on 2 sides, and they are. Okay, fair enough. So this was how the percentile system used to be before the 10-sided dice was brought into play. Okay, well, that one's got a little dent on it. Interesting. Okay, so yeah, so there you go. So you would have 20%. Yeah, okay. So yeah, so it's a different take, but still coming up with the same results. Okay, Explorer creation. About the explorers. So we got information here on about explorers getting ready to create your explorer. Gender, the sex of your explorer is purely a matter of personal taste. Perhaps you don't like to play males or females. Perhaps you want to explore. Perhaps you want the explorer to come from a community in which men or women dominate. The Ringworld game does not endow one human sex with any advantage over the other. Choose one. Fair enough. Your home world. So home worlds, you have Cannon, Down, Earth, Gamigeny, Home, Jinx, Margrave, Plateau, Silverized Belt, We Made It, and Wonderland. All right. And then dealing with different gravities and defects, common human space physical defects, things such as albinism, booster spice allergy, current addiction. So defects tables, chronological age. People live longer in Ringworld, so obviously you can surpass the standard mortality rate currently. Characteristics are made up of strength, mass, constitution, intelligence, power, dexterity, appearance, and education. Explorer attributes, descriptions of those. First bit of art here. Very nice. A little black and white art. Luck roll. Luck plays into this game. Dodge roll. Action rankings. Occupations and pursuits. You have such things as athletics, botany, chemistry, emergency treatment, planetology, strategy, zoology, orate, and so on. All right, different pursuits such as colonialist, criminal, dilettante, minor pilot, police officer, politician, scholar with descriptions of it. And then we go on to special interest, wealth, and beginning equipment. Description of the skills, special success. Let's see here. So using skills. The player checks his Explorer percentile ability with the skill in question, then rolls D100. Whenever the Explorer skill percentage is 95 or less, and the roll is equal to or less than the Explorer's current percentage ability, then the player's roll succeeds and the Explorer is successful. Yada, yada, yada. Same thing, just different dice. Let's see here. Special success. If the D100 is equal to or less than 1/5 of the amount needed to succeed with the skill, round up any fraction, then a special success occurs. And then special failure, this chance for special failure equals 1/20th of the chance. For example, Shark has a 44% chance to fail his emergency treatment. Dividing 44 by 20, 1/20th of the chance, remember, yields 2.2, which rounds up to 3% for a special failure. On a result of 0, 0, 99, or 98, a special failure occurs. All right. Hopefully there's a table there. As simple as the math is, it's always funny when you're dealing with certain things such that, and you say that to your players or even a GM, and even if they are brilliant at math, for some reason it ends up being like a deer in a headlight when you ask them, okay, well, what is 1/20th of your score? Oh, how do I do that? So tables are always helpful. Okay, different types of skills. Interesting. Individual skills. Okay, so we go into the details, things such as engineering, farming, history, strategy, and so on. And then the game system. Skill increases. Increasing percentages. Okay. And so we going through training here. So interesting. Okay. And then we're tracking research track form. Okay, research I would imagine would be part of the game. Resistance table would definitely be part of it, dealing with alien aspects. Time, movement, and game intervals, most definitely, since this is going to be traveling on a large world. Dealing with combat, part of the game. Taking damage, natural hazards. Dealing with things like asphyxiation, burns, fires and temperatures, disease. All right. So yeah, I mean, like most Chaosium games, it's not page thick. There's not a lot of pages to this. I mean, there are 4 books, but there's a lot of information, a lot of dense information within it, which still carries through today. But but it's not super dense. It's just it's a lot of reading to get through, but easily referenced, in my opinion, when it's split between 4 smaller books. You're not having to flip through an 800-page book. And the other thing that kind of helps, as much as I am a fan of artwork within RPGs and feel that it is absolutely necessary to create at least a decent amount of immersion or an idea within the world that you're playing, even though that there's been verbal descriptions throughout the book, it is helpful. And I tend to be a bit of a minimalist with that because if it's super dense with artwork, it makes locating information, referencing information harder if you're just flipping through the book. But things such as this, a lot easier, a lot less distractions. So we go on with a bit of information on Earth and other worlds, and a history of the early interstellar area, selected interworld distances and trip times, which is, there's space travel involved, so that's going to be in there. There's going to be tables. Most sci-fi RPGs are table rich, and rightfully so for the most part. Asteroids, Belter mini worlds. And we go on through the different worlds descriptions and the people there. Obviously, aliens are going to be involved in their biology and creating as an explorer. Yep. Okay, about the Zinti. Creating a puppeteer explorer. So these are specifics to the book, and then a known space glossary in the back. Interesting. And there's your book. All right, there's your book. There's your character sheet. So out of everything here, pursuits, decent enough. Action ranking, impulsive completion, psionic ability, and then this one utilizes a hit location table. Easy enough. All right, and a nice index in the back. Very good. All right, so that is the Explorer book. So we'll take a look at the Game Master book, dealing with puppeteer secrets and the inside cover. Now this is where it's going to get probably even more dense as a bit of a read, as it's trying to summarize this vast, rich universe that Niven has created and condense it for a Game Master to portray it as such. All right, so we're going to have, like I said, sci-fi, especially dealing with interstellar travel, is going to have tons of information regarding the worlds and the aspects of there, most of which are interesting. I don't know how many people actually use that to a large degree, other than the most ardent and crazy traveler fans. But so we're this is at the point where I would start reading and my eyes would go wide. I would probably get maybe about 10 pages in, and then realize that I only probably read half of it, because the other half I have no clue what I just read. But so I would have to go back again and again and again and just absorb it piece by piece. So here he's got some information on the Ringworld superconductor grid network, which would make sense if you've read the books. Information on the Fist of God, the mountain, and obviously what it actually is. Spoilers. City builder lore. Grass giants. So we're going to get a lot of information for the Game Master to at his disposal, or I should at their disposal. But this would be the kind of stuff that you wouldn't necessarily need to have, compartmentalize your adventures at Ringworld. Don't make it so you need to. Okay, you need to have to utilize this at all times, and we come with the adventure Journey of the Cat's Eye. All right, and then you can either use pre-gens, or it says here a blank space indicates position available with filling. Okay, so there are NPCs in here, and then you would just fill in for the different openings that are here: pilot, space engineer, ship's engineer, navigator, head of security, scientists, and so on. So interesting enough. So there is an adventure that I saw. Lewis Wu. Okay. So I wonder if there's a map. If this would obviously be some sort of hex crawl, and then likewise a glossary in the back and index. All right, so that was the Game Master's book. Now we've got the technology book, which again is probably going to be chock full of tables, and some of these things people absolutely just love. Others just look at it and go, I just want to use Star Trek science. I just want one crystal to run everything. All right, but I assume this is the latter, because not only is this, I wouldn't necessarily call it hard sci-fi setting, but close. And likewise, it's going to reflect that. And these older games, the older sci-fi games, just give me a book with no pictures and as much technical babble and real-world science as we can squeeze into it, because I want a simulation. All right, and that's what this seems to be. Okay, so medical equipment, mechanical and recreational drugs. Ooh, here we go. Did I say mechanical? I meant medicinal and recreational drugs. All right. Circus, Dreams, Euclid, Frenzy, Frisky, Lorelei, Mellow, Nemo, Pinhead, Rousem, Rush'em, Superman, and Wowsem. Those could easily be fitted into cyberpunk names too. Okay, items and such. Variety of equipment with some illustrations, which is nice. And we've got the different weapons here with, this particular Niven take on their technology and protective devices. Okay, so that's not too bad. It's a decent book of of technology, equipment, and items and whatnot. So it doesn't seem to be, overly descriptive within what they do and the tables involved. Just, general information, size, how they function, hit points if they're destructible, and, pictures. Although my opinion has always been, if you're going to do an equipment manual, everything should have a picture. Everything should have something to give you an idea of what it looks like. Index on the back there. Okay, the cool part, the bestiary, the creatures book. All right, so, and here we are. So the aliens, the Bandersnatchy, dolphins, the humans of the sea. All right, so I'm already feeling a little disappointed. Even more than equipment, a bestiary or bestiary, correct me if I'm wrong, should have artwork for them. The descriptions are nice, but sometimes descriptions fail to give a proper idea of what they look like, or some can be confusing or unclear. So, but we do have a large amount of information here, hominids, and a wonderful picture of ghouls, muck ogre. So, I mean, yeah, it's going to give a decent variety, and there is some artwork to accompany it. But the animals and whatnot, and they all, I'm sure, are probably just weird and odd and just wonderful and fantastic. This is the type of sci-fi world that you want to play in. You don't necessarily just want another human being with purple skin and and a plastic crest on its head. Other than that, it's completely human. So it's all right, but it's not interesting. So yeah, so that's the creatures book. All right, so what else came with it? We have the Ringworld autopilot printout. Is that what they're calling it, the cheat sheet? It looks like it. All right, so yes, it's the character sheets along with information about a day on Ringworld, the dark side of Ringworld, the starry night sky of Ringworld. So, okay, so this would probably be something that you could hand your players. This would be player side information. Likewise, something to reference for the GM. Then we have actual reference sheets with the mechanics of the game. Yes, for the most part, just things that you need to quickly reference. We have some standees, still in good shape, still haven't been cut out, and until the day I sell it, never will. But yes, enough here. It's just, it's standard. It's going to give you your default characters for your NPCs. But, as far as any monsters or anything, I don't know if it came with it. These are just Explorer figures. I'll take a look at the back when I see it. Or, there we go. What's in the box? Let's see here. Cardstock Explorers. What came with it? Yes, so it's just the Explorers. And then the dice, the handouts. A 4-page set of reference sheets containing most of the tables needed for playing the game, stapled together 2 separate items. The 4-page section about titled Autopilot Printout gives the players a computer readout. Let's see, of the system, what the computer would show. To understand what the explorers see, the player should read the attached essays. The 4 blank Explorer sheets are ready for immediate use. Cut them apart. They are printed front and back and make photocopies. Game Master book, Creatures book, Technology book, Explorer book. So it seems like everything's here. 4 books, several handouts, cardstock Explorer figures, 5 dice, and other inserts. Excellent. And then, with credits on the back. Very, very cool. Let's see here. See if there's any other names that I recognize off the top of my head. Not especially. They want to give Ralph McQuarrie thank you for his patience. And then so there you are. So I mean that is what you would have got if you would have picked up this game when it was published in 1984. So what would you see on the back? So the most comprehensive guide to Ringworld and known space ever published. The pack loop started a million mile wide, harder than steel ribbon, around a star, and set the ribbon spinning. Like a lariat, the Skrith band spun evenly in an orbit comparable to Earth's. It's a little damage there. Air came, and water and soil, and beneath the sun, always at high noon, lived and died man-like beings who knew no other reality. Ringworld role-playing. This following game outlines players generate and then assume the personalities and physical characteristics of known space explorers. These explorers then face challenges and mysteries as though in a Niven tale. During play, an additional participant, the Game Master, interprets the Ringworld game rules and manipulates setting, time, the forces of nature, and living opponents. The players determine their explorers' actions. The game rules indicate in an impartial manner how encounters and combatants are resolved. A Ringworld game session becomes a drama of successive dangers and triumphs shared by all. There you go. So, interesting. I know there's a companion book. I don't know if there's much else produced for this. The companion book can be just as expensive as obtaining one of these. Unfortunately, the companion book did not come with it, but it's something I would look out for. Could I see myself running something within Ringworld? I would say definitely could see myself doing the one-shot to gain the experience of what it's like, just like I would enjoy doing it for any game that I have. But could I see myself doing anything long-term with this? I don't know. Like I said, I'm enjoying the Ringworld book as we're going through it. It's I've been listening to an audiobook, so it's taking a bit longer to kind of go through. I find it interesting and evocative world, but I don't know. It's one of those things where, if you're not a real fan and really want to immerse yourself within the world. I mean, if you've read all 5 of the books and you're a Ringworld fanatic, I don't know if it's going to provide much outside of a few game sessions. I mean, you're exploring a science fiction world, but the thing is with sci-fi, it's primarily focused on a single world like Dune. As far as role-playing within Dune, they have provided a bit of information to explore outside of Dune proper, and relatively well, but still people coming to the game who are fans of it are going to want to primarily focus on Dune, and the sheen of that may wear off over time, just like the sheen of exploring Ringworld, no matter how big it is. I mean, it's trillions and trillions of different creatures and and races and monsters and aliens that live there, and you can explore there for decades if you want. But it does seem like outside of that, a lot of heavy lifting by the GM to continue to make the world interesting enough to stay there long term. Especially, it's easier when you're dealing with fantasy role-playing games because they don't have spaceships to take off to other worlds. Whereas that's kind of the appeal of science fiction. You go to a world and, you spend a little bit of time there, you learn about it, and you move on to the next one. And I don't know if that's something that's going to appeal to traditional sci-fi role players with this particular game going into it unless they're familiar with it. So that's just my 10 cents of it. But this is definitely something that is for an older game. There is enough information there to, and likewise with being unfamiliar with the companion, that I can see having a good time with it. And I think that's the most important aspect of any role playing game. You have a good time. There's enough there to at least maintain your interest for a considerable amount of time. And, but usually by the time the sheen wears off on that, everyone's ready to play something else. And therefore it's done its job. So there you go. Sorry for the pause there. I was just looking over at the screen. Was this recording? For a second, I thought it wasn't. But there you go. that is Larry Niven's Ringworld. Let's put this, this stuff back into the box. It's in excellent shape. I mean, it's obviously been used slightly, or it's been moved, but as far as the usage of it, and the fact that there's still the beautiful classic dice here that comes with it, I'm very, very happy with the way that this particular unboxing went, and the information, the items that came. So there you are. This has been yet another completely unprofessional unboxing. Scott with Ringworld by Larry Niven and all the wonderful people at Chaosium at that time. If you enjoyed this video and the other things that I do, please give a like, comment in the description. All the typical YouTube stuff that you're supposed to do would be nice. I have a new thing has popped up on YouTube. The community tab has become available for me, so trying to engage a little bit more on there. Feel free to follow me on Twitter at Hail Orcus Dorcas, and give a comments there. Or if there's anything that you want to comment about the stuff that I've done on the YouTube video, I'm always happy to engage. And if there's anything negative, or over the top, I'm always happy to block and mute. So, anyways, there you go. Also, if you enjoy podcasts, give a listen to Titterpigs, the podcast that I co-host with Keith from RollingBoxCars.com. Go to his website that he has with other people and other associates there. They do a wonderful amount of reviews on there on a variety of games, and likewise have other gaming commentary and articles as such there. And I think that's about it. I think that I've filled in a good 40 minutes in regards to Ringworld. So, with that being said, the next video coming up, I may continue with Dragonlance. We might see. Looking to go into the high, the Tower of High Sorcery and the magic users that reside there. Thank you all. Have a wonderful day.